taking place behind the scenes, far away from the public eye. You see, Peter Thiel's disciple, Sam Altman, now wants the US government to guarantee trillions of dollars in loans for his massive AI infrastructure expansion.
Some level, when something gets sufficiently huge, whether or not they are on paper, the federal government is kind of the insurer of last resort. Given the magnitude of what I expect AI economic impact to look like, sort of, I do think the government ends up as like the insurer of last resort, but
just think about that for a second. He's asking for government-backed trillion-dollar funding at the exact same time people are warning that the AI bubble could be one of the biggest financial risks we've ever seen. But here's the part that really gets me. I'm not even talking about the financial insanity of it. I'm talking about the audacity of a company that's automating away hundreds of thousands of jobs, now turning around and asking for taxpayer protection. And I've already shown you the numbers. Experts believe AI could drive US unemployment to 10, maybe even 20% within just 5 years. Right now, unemployment sits around 4%, so just imagine what happens when that number quintuples. Experts say artificial intelligence could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs in the US over the next 1 to 5 years and push unemployment as high as 20%. That's a massive jump from today's 4.2% unemployment rate. Jobs in tech, finance, law, writing, accounting, and software are all at risk. At the same time, AI is expected to bring huge benefits, faster economic growth, major medical breakthroughs, even curing diseases like cancer. But the downside? Millions of people could be left without work. Other big tech leaders, including those at Meta and Google, are warning too. They say AI could soon replace mid-level engineers, writers, and other knowledge workers. This isn't just some far-off future. The shift is already starting. The real question now is, are we prepared for the impact AI is about to have on the job market? That's not innovation, that's systemic collapse disguised as progress. And after creating this nightmare, they want the government to shield them from the fallout. Now, Sam Altman has publicly denied that his company wants any kind of government guarantee, but let's be honest, can you really trust this man? This is the same guy who spent years warning us about the dangers of AI, claiming his so-called nonprofit was here to protect humanity.
OpenAI was founded on the belief that artificial intelligence has the potential to improve nearly every aspect of our lives, but also that it creates serious risks we have to work together to manage. OpenAI is an unusual company, and we set it up that way because AI is an unusual technology. We are governed by a nonprofit, and our activities are driven by our mission and our charter, which commit us to working to ensure that the broad distribution of the benefits of AI and to maximizing the safety of AI systems.
And now he's turning that very same company into a money-making empire for a handful of elite investors. And of course, we're the ones paying the price. Because while he and his billionaire friends are getting filthy rich, regular people, the ones driving cabs, delivering parcels, working real jobs, are being replaced by AI taxis and delivery robots every single day. Well, this is some terrifying news. They're not even hiding it anymore. Amazon is officially testing humanoid robots to deliver your packages. Not drones, not vans, full-blown robots built to walk, see, think, and move like humans, replacing real workers on your streets. They're calling it Humanoid Park, a creepy obstacle course lab in San Francisco where these bots are being trained to navigate sidewalks and stairs like it's some kind of dystopian Olympics. But here's the kicker. These bots are getting deployed with over 20,000 Rivian electric vans using Amazon's own AI built on models like DeepSeek and Qwen. Translation, they're automating every inch of the delivery chain. No drivers, no warehouse pickers, just machines from start to finish. But this isn't just about efficiency, it's about control. Amazon already knows what you buy. Now it'll know when you get it, how it got there, and it won't need a single human being to make it happen. And according to a McKinsey report, 12 million workers could be displaced by moves like this by 2030. Jobs gone, privacy gone, streets run by robots. So ask yourself, is this innovation? Or are we sleepwalking into a world where humans are the obsolete product? So when Altman talks about building a better future, what he really means is a future where they control the tech, they own the profits, and we deal with the fallout.
When considering AI, here are 3 points to bear in mind. The first starts with a true story from some 200 years ago, which I'll simplify down to one village and industry and use modern pay scales, but don't let those distract you from the historical accuracy of this tale. Once upon a time, there was a village in the countryside where they raised sheep and made wool cloth. Over time, one family grew wealthy and started hiring their neighbors to make the cloth. They paid their neighbors $200 a day to weave, and then they sold the cloth. That was a living wage, so the neighbors didn't mind working for this family. And eventually, all 300 people or so in the village worked for this one family, and they let their own flocks and tools go because it was easier to just work for this one family who grew very wealthy indeed, so wealthy that they built a factory and bought a set of massive industrial looms. These looms could do the work of the entire village in a day with only 5 employees to tend to the machines. So the family immediately fired 295 of the villagers and cut the pay for the remaining 5 down to only $50 a day because they knew they could be easily replaced from the now massive pool of unemployed villagers. The villagers were furious. Even if they started themselves weaving again, there was no way they could compete with the low prices that rich family could sell at with their looms. And they had no other way to make a living. As the families watched their children starve, they grew outraged and they organized. They went to the rich family and asked them to hire them back, and the rich family laughed at them. So the next night, the villagers broke into the factory and smashed all the looms. The rich family was outraged, bought more looms and armed guards. Villagers fought the guards, smashed these looms too. All this took time, and during that time, the rich family was not selling any cloth. So eventually, they posted jobs again, the old weaving jobs for $200 a day. The organized villagers met with the rich family and said, "We'll work for you again, but since you could afford to buy multiple sets of these $1,000,000 machines, then it seems pretty clear that we weren't getting our fair share of the profit we were generating for you. So our wage is now $300 a day, and if you ever try and pull that crap again, every one of us walks away and there'll be no one to tend to your theft machines. All your profits are built on our labor, and if you ever forget that again, we're happy to remind you. When you use new technologies to drive the value of our labor and the quality of our lives down, instead of lifting the entire community up, then we will prevent your technologies from functioning at all, and you will not make a single penny." The rich family agreed, but then organized with all the other rich families in the other villages to create an army, and they used that army to round up and execute all the organizers from all the villages and crush the traumatized communities into compliance. They bought new looms and drove the value of labor so far below a living wage that the traumatized villagers had no time to do anything but try and scrape together crumbs for their next meal. And those families used the skyrocketing profits to convince the traumatized villagers that having different colored crumbs to scrape together was the pinnacle of freedom and fulfillment. They then took great care in writing the history books and painted the people who had smashed their looms as anti-technology and opposed to progress. This is the actual history of the Luddite movement. The Luddites were not opposed to technology for some abstract spiritual reasons. They were opposed to the intentional devaluation of their labor and the weaponization of technology against them to starve their families, while mill owners bathed in champagne. I remember when I learned about the Luddites in junior high thinking, what idiots, technology is great. The fact that my state-sponsored education left me with only that conclusion is because the mill owners won. The lesson here is this. The ethics of technology are in what is being done with it. GMO crops are a great example of this. I understand biology well enough to know that there's no biological risk in most GM foods. Almost all of it is just accelerating what organic growers select for over generations anyway, like synchronized germination and fruit size. We want fat kernels of grain that all mature at the same time. So I have no particular issue with GM technology on its own terms. I categorically oppose all GM foods and companies because of what is being done with it. It's a weapon. Those genes are trademarked and then intentionally planted next to organic, traditional, and indigenous growers' fields. When they cross-pollinate, as all grain does, then the massive multinational corporations who own the patented genes sue the small-scale organic and indigenous growers for copyright infringement and shut them down. They intentionally crush both market competition and, more importantly, biodiversity and indigeneity using GM crops. AI is the most powerful technology our species has ever developed, far more powerful than nuclear weapons, because nuclear weapons only work as a threat. No sane government would ever use them because it would end the world. But AI is already shaping our entire world, and that's only going to rapidly increase and become ever harder to spot. We're currently in the only iteration of AI that will ever be identifiable. In 5 years, it'll be completely undetectable. That means that it is insidious in a way that's impossible to overstate, especially in the context of algorithms. Next-gen AI algorithms won't even need to aggregate content to shape your worldview. It'll just create content, custom tailored to your ethics, woven into your feed. Whatever type of person you think is the most compelling, next-gen AI will just make videos of that exact person saying exactly what the programming wants you to hear. The same way that I have a relationship with and some trust for creators I appreciate, like Crutches and Spice or Madeline Pendleton, we will have relationships with AI that we don't know are AI, and it will shape our worldviews. So with that in mind, the question of this first point is this. Holistically, do you believe that the application of the most powerful technologies that we have today is ethical? I'm not asking if there are specific uses of technology which are healthy or helpful, or whether technology is ever used for good. Obviously, it can be. I'm asking if overall you think that the application of the most powerful technologies in the world today are making the world better. Like, do you believe that current social media algorithms and nuclear weapons are making the world better? If not, then consider this. If you gave someone $100 and they used it to buy a weapon and rob you and your whole community, would you think it was wise to give them $1 million? The other part of this first point is this. What would you think if the person who you'd given $100 to and had used it to rob your whole community desperately wanted something? If that thief was using all their ill-gotten gains to get something, would you think that the effect of them getting that thing would be good for your community? The entities who really, really, really want AI are the CIA. The whole US government, but the CIA in particular, are the ones buying the most horrifying contracts and technologies, and megacorporations, Meta, Amazon, BlackRock, Blackwater. These are the entities who are now funding nuclear reactors and buying every water and power contract on the market out for decades to drive emergent AI. So do you think that the CIA, Zuckerberg, Bezos, and the largest private corporate militaries in the world having the most powerful tool in the history of the world is going to be beneficial for us, even if we get multicolored breadcrumbs of next-gen Alexa or ChatGPT or laundry robots along the way?